on the proposed tax reform bill as the presidency confirms that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has received the National Economic Council's recommendation that the tax reform bills already sent to the National Assembly be withdrawn for further consultation. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu commends the National Economic Council members, especially Vice President Kashim Shettima and the 36 state governors for their advice. He believes that the legislative process, which has already begun, provides an opportunity for inputs and needed changes without withdrawing the bills from the National Assembly. He also urged the Economic Council to allow the process take its full course and welcomes engagement with key stakeholders to address any reservations about the bills, while the National Assembly considers them for passage. Mr. Ononuga adds that when President Tinubu set up the Presidential Committee on Tax and Fiscal Policy Reform in August 2023, he had only one objective, which is to reposition the economy for better productivity and make the operating environment for investment more conducive. And back here in Lagos, Justice Dende Dikpeolu of a Federal High Court has ordered the final forfeiture to the federal government of a cash sum of $2.045 million, as well as 8 choice properties in Lagos and Delta State, and 2 share certificates of a firm, all linked to former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. This on grounds that the properties were reasonably suspected to have been acquired with proceeds of crime.
The court held that Godwin Emefiele, despite his arguments, through his lead counsel Olalekan Ojo SAN, that he had purchased the landed properties through legitimate means, didn't provide any link to the several companies who were said to be owners of the properties. The court says that the former CBN governor had instead indirectly denied ownership of those properties, having not admitted whether he was a member, shareholder or director of those firms. The court added that after examining the several documents presented by both the EFCC seeking final forfeiture and Mr. Emefiele claiming ownership of the properties, that he didn't present proof of ownership and title documents to support his claims. Neither did the said companies file any court documents in the suit on why the assets shouldn't be forfeited. The court added that since Mr. Emefiele didn't claim ownership of the $2.045 million and 2 share certificates linked to him, such unchallenged evidence presented by the EFCC's lead counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo SAN, is credible proof for the court to ascribe probative value to it. Mr. Emefiele's counsel had argued in October that he instructed his solicitor to purchase those landed properties in his name with proceeds accrued from his lawful savings while serving in various capacities at Zenith Bank PLC and at the CBN, and that those instructions were carried out. Earlier in the day, Justice Dikpeolu also refused to halt further proceedings of the suit, as prayed for by the top banker, pending the determination of 2 criminal charges brought against him by the EFCC in Abuja and Lagos. The judge said the case in Abuja borders on alleged illegal award of contracts and payments bearing no link to the instant suit, while the charge in Lagos borders on the alleged negotiation for and acceptance of kickbacks by Mr. Emefiele and his cronies in exchange for forex. The court says that though the charge being heard at the Lagos State High Court bears some similarities with this case, the charge doesn't list any property seeking to be forfeited or link them as having been purchased from those alleged illegalities. Mr. Emefiele had contended that hearing all 3 cases simultaneously will be prejudicial to him, since he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But the EFCC had argued that this case, brought under Section 17 of the Advanced Fee Fraud Act of 2016, isn't conviction-based, but targets properties reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime and will not breach his rights. Mr. Oyedepo had added that the instant proceedings are distinct from the criminal charges against Mr. Emefiele.
Major General Olufemi Oluyede has formally assumed command of the Nigerian Army as the acting chief of Army Staff. The acting chief of Army Staff thanked the President Bola Tinubu for his appointment, pledging to hold sway as leader of the army until such a time when the substantive Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, is able to resume the role. Sifon Essien reports.
It's an unusual ceremony. The Chief of Defense Staff says it is necessitated by the absence of the substantive Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who is medically indisposed.
In the interim, based on the powers conferred on the President Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, he has decided and directed and appointed an acting Chief of Army Staff with the full powers and responsibilities of the Chief of Army Staff until the President decides otherwise. So for us as professionals, we are to continue with our task ahead. No gap to be left based on the challenges we have in the country. And it's in the wisdom of the President and Commander-in-Chief that today we present the authority through the acting Chief of Army Staff for him to have full control and command of the Nigerian Army.
He provides more reasons for the decision to have an acting Chief of Army Staff and urges officers and men of the armed forces to accept it in the interest of the country.
Nigeria is going through several challenges, especially on security. We need all hands on deck. This is one main reason where the President Commander-in-Chief decided to appoint the acting Chief of Army Staff so that there will be continuity to avoid any gap. We cannot afford to lay back and allow insecurity to continue to prevail.
Major General Olufemi Oloyede is a member of the regular course 39 of the Nigerian Defense Academy. He accepts his appointment as the acting Chief of Army Staff, pledging to continue in that role pending the resumption of the substantive Chief of Army Staff.
My appointment as acting Chief of Army Staff is simply to hold sway while Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, our Medical Chief of Army Staff, is a way to enable him to take sufficient time to get necessary medical attention and prepare. And that I intend to do with the whole of my heart.
It's an unprecedented takeover of office for Major General Oluyede. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.